Hi, I'm Hilma Volk. Welcome to Carpal Tunnel Master. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to tell where your problem is coming from. And you should watch this video first before you do anything else. And then you should watch the rest of the core videos before you do anything else as well. Because you may think you know where your problem is, or you may have been told where your problem is, but that might not be accurate. So first of all, what this course is not about, this is not about problems of the brain. I don't mean problems of the mind, I mean problems of the brain, like brain tumors, stroke, or head injury. This is also not about trauma to your wrist. What do I mean by trauma? I mean broken wrists, you punched your hand through a wall, something like that. It's not about that. And it's also not about problems of neuropathy caused by medical conditions such as lupus or diabetes. However, if you have problems caused by your occupation or hobby on top of those medical conditions, this program will probably help on the conditions that are caused by things you have done to your body through your hobbies or occupations. And this is primarily what this program is about, is from stuff from hobbies and occupations and things you've done with your body, either using awkward positions or from repetitive use. So first of all, what is carpal tunnel syndrome? First of all, carpal tunnel syndrome always has numbness or tingling. If you just have pain without numbness or tingling, and the numbness or tingling may come and go, but just plain pain, that is not a symptom of carpal tunnel syndrome at all. So if you have numbness in the thumb, first finger, second finger, and this half of the ring finger, and part of the palm, that is a symptom of carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's not the only thing that can cause that. There are things that cause false carpal tunnel syndromes, and there are things that are similar to carpal tunnel syndrome. There are also things that are not carpal tunnel syndrome at all. For example, if you have numbness in the little finger and part of the ring finger, that's not a symptom of carpal tunnel syndrome at all, but it is a problem, and we'll talk about that in the program too. And if you have numbness in the back of your hand, that's another problem, and that's caused by the supinator muscle, usually, which is in the second section, but not part of the core videos. The reason why a lot of people think that carpal tunnel syndrome is pain, and without the numbness or anything, because you need the numbness or tingling, even though it may come and go, to be carpal tunnel syndrome, because just pain in the wrist, like you see pictures of people, they're holding their wrist and there's advertising carpal tunnel products or whatever. Pain in the wrist, especially if it hurts to move in any certain direction or it hurts to do something, first of all, don't do that, but go to the end of the second section where I talk about pain in the wrist that's not related to carpal tunnel syndrome, because doing things for carpal tunnel syndrome, if you have pain in the wrist that causes pain when you move it but you don't have the symptoms of carpal tunnel, yeah, you're just going to make things worse. Okay. Now the nerves that go into your hand originate from the lower three vertebrae in your neck. They go down underneath your collarbone, down under your armpit, down your arm, and through the carpal tunnel and into your hand. Now the median nerve that causes those numbness in those fingers I was talking about splits before it enters the carpal tunnel. Now what does that mean? Part of the median nerve causes numbness in this part of your palm, and part of it doesn't. You see in the yellow in the diagram, if that part is numb, I'm not talking pain, I'm talking numbness. At a time when you have numbness in your hand, if that part is numb, then your problems with your numbness in the hand originate from somewhere further up the line. Now, is it possible to have carpal tunnel syndrome and a problem somewhere further up? Absolutely. If it's in the neck or front of the, it can be anywhere in the places I'll talk about, and if it's two places, it's double crush, or it could be multiple crush. Because, I don't know if you saw my video on the dimmer switch analogy, but let's say you had an electric outlet over here and a lamp over there, and in between you had 5 dimmer switches, and the lamp is dim. Now you know what a dimmer switch is, if it's on the wall or whatever, and you turn the dimmer switch and the light goes dimmer, it's cutting off the amount of electricity going in. And just like that, similarly, our nerve pathways are like electrical currents. And if you had 5 dimmer switches and each of them were dimmed a little bit, or one of them was dimmed, or 2 of them were dimmed, the lamp couldn't tell what's going on. It couldn't tell which was dimmed, and you couldn't either by looking at the lamp. Similarly, our brain cannot tell why we have numbness in the hand. It knows we have numbness, but you can't tell where it's coming from, and if you try to rub your fingers to get the numbness to go away, it's just not going to work, because the problem is coming from somewhere else. If it's true carpal tunnel, you also have forearm problems. It's almost impossible not to. If you have true carpal tunnel and it's coming from something you've done with your occupation, whether it's repetitive use or from something that's more cumulative, which would be something more like gripping things hard, could be weights, could be a motorcycle, could be a bicycle, could be a jackhammer, could be any other type of thing like that, where you're gripping things, or repetitive use, such as piano or typing or guitar or whatever. So I will describe that a lot more completely in the forearm videos. But don't just skip the other videos thinking, well, all my problem is in my forearm because I've got carpal tunnel syndrome, because you may be surprised at your problem might be coming from somewhere else, or you may have a problem that's worse somewhere else, and even though you might have carpal tunnel syndrome itself, you may just eliminate your carpal tunnel problems, at least for now. Well, the next thing I'll talk about real quick, which was in the forearm videos, is a muscle called the pronator teres, and what that does is turn your hand down. And that could be from screwing things or turning knobs, if you're doing a bit of that. If you're a card dealer in Las Vegas or whatever, you're a professional gambler, you're a tarot card reader, when you're turning things over and putting hands down, or just keeping your hands down, that's from a muscle in your forearm that can mimic carpal tunnel syndrome when it's pinching on the median nerve, and when it's tight, it can do that. So it very closely mimics carpal tunnel syndrome, and you want to be aware of that, and that's in the forearm videos as well. So next, the pectoralis minor muscle. This is one of the easiest ones to identify and one of the easiest ones to fix once you find out where the pectoralis minor muscle is and how to get to it. But it's a fairly easy fix compared to a lot of things you can do with your body. So, how do you know if you've got pectoralis minor problem? Well, here's a test. You hold your arms up and you squeeze your shoulders back, and then you open and close your fist slowly for 3 minutes. Now, if this causes numbness, weakness, or any other problems, that's pectoralis minor. And a lot of times people will have a problem if they have their hands up and they get numb, or they put their hands down and numbness goes away. And if it's really tight, that can happen with steering wheels, it can happen with bicycles, motorcycles, even computers. And the way to tell is, unless it's really severe, when you put your hands down, the numbness goes away. It can also happen when you're sleeping with your hands above your head and you get numbness, and you put your hands down in the morning and numbness goes away. Pectoralis minor can cause numbness either in these 2 fingers or the carpal tunnel type fingers, or it can make the whole hand numb. Now, the other most common area for false carpal tunnel syndrome is the spleen muscles in the neck. They're in the front of the neck, and you almost never, ever, ever feel pain in them, but they can cause a lot of mischief. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Whiplash is one. People who do shallow breathing, breathing with your lungs. Also, the pectoralis minor can be caused by shallow breathing too, or just because these muscles lift your rib cage. The scalene muscles go from inside your neck to the first and second rib, and again, I'll discuss more of them in the scalene videos. And also another muscle that does not cause numbness, but causes a lot of mischief in the front of the neck as well, called the sternocleidomastoid, which SCM for short. Shoulder pain, arm weakness, pain in the forearm, pain in the wrist, can be caused by the scalene muscles, and they can cause other mischief as well. So watch the scalene muscles, because they're a very important muscle that can be causing mischief, and it's very easy for physicians to misdiagnose that. In fact, it's very commonly misdiagnosed, and this is a quick test to see if your scalenes are tight, and again, not exactly 100% accurate, but a good indication. You bring your shoulder forward as you lift up, and the idea is to lift your collarbone and really raise that collarbone up. And if this is your affected hand, this should decrease the symptoms. It should decrease the symptoms of tingling or numbness or what you're feeling within a couple minutes. So you want to hold this position for, probably 3 minutes at least. And another test is turning your head to the side and your chin facing down. And the idea is to compress your neck area towards the collarbone. And if you have scalene problems, that should make your problem worse. So that's another test you can do. Another test which may work is you should be able to do this with the back of your hand straight. You should be able to get your fingers touching. But if it's like this and they're not touching, if there's a gap here, that's an indication that you've got a scalene problem. Again, not 100% accurate, but good indication. This is a quick test they use for carpal tunnel syndrome, and it's about 60% accurate. You just take your wrist and push it down this way, and if you get a sharp pain right there, that's an indication of carpal tunnel syndrome. And again, it's about 60% accurate. Make sure you watch the scalene videos. Don't skip over them, because it's a very common problem that's becoming more and more common, and has been becoming more and more common since tablets and smartphones and everything else has been around, where you've got the screen and your keyboard really close together and the neck is bent down. Problems in the neck, problems in the scalene muscles, which are in the front of your neck. A lot of problems with thumb pain, and now I've got a couple of videos at the bottom of the core videos on problems with tablets and things that have caused pain that have nothing to do with carpal tunnel so much as just pain that people get in their thumbs, particularly the bottom of the thumb or the side of the thumb, depending how they're using it. And people think, well, this is the palm of the hand. Well, it's actually thumb muscle, the thenar muscle that does the gripping or the texting or the whatever. So a lot of problems there. So make sure you watch all the core videos.